Trust first, then the blessing follows. At first, the human physical animal side will rail and rage at the idea of doing nothing. This can't be right. The very core of your physical side is to seek to create movement and life. The act of procreation, the act of physical movement and energy creating actual life, is a perfect example of the physical constantly seeking more. It is inherent to its nature. This is, of course, of God, and in the beginning this concept was correctly balanced with the other points of the sacred cross. The physical was not as important as the spiritual, emotional, and mental, yet it alone gave the ability for the other three to exist in this dimension. A dimension that existed for the sole purpose of rapid and oftentimes painful growth. A dimension which required a physical body. Thus, the least becomes the greatest in its own way. But let us speak now of the idea of trust. An idea which is repugnant to the physical, for it is the act of doing nothing but being. Be still and know that I am God. This is the motto of trust. Trust is the fertile soil in which the seed of faith must be planted, and thus the least becomes the greatest, for without it all other things may exist for a time, but fail utterly. So what is this trust then? How do we recognize what it feels like and the pitfalls that might arise should we seek to strengthen it? Let's talk. If you seek faith, you must first make the soil of your heart freshly turned and well watered, and in this you will experience no shortage of pain. But it is not the pain itself that must be avoided. It can neither be avoided, nor should it. No matter how perfect you may perceive yourself to be, that pain is coming for you. Therefore God has given you a choice. What type of pain shall it be? Pain with a purpose, or pain without a purpose? Pain that humbles you, that scours the stony ground of your heart, and tills it to prepare it to be soft enough to provide the proper soil for the seed of faith? Or pain that makes it harder, more compressed, constant pressure without purpose, constant darkness while you lash out at all the imagined reasons for your pain, while never, not one whit, coming closer to the truth, because the truth will set you free, and you have chosen a cage. Trust, then, is the path of sorrow, not misery. Sorrow which by its very nature causes humility, which causes self-reflection, which causes repentance and clarity. And once clarity is achieved, you have journeyed towards God, and now He is reaching down to you. Learn trust. Then the seed of faith is planted. At this point, you have no way of knowing for sure if this seed will produce joy or misery. You simply believe in a thing which is true without knowing whether it is, and you act according to that belief. This is faith. And thus, the seed of faith is planted. And when it is watered with the tears of many, many mistakes, and the rain of sorrow falls down on the ground of your heart, you will continually renew the soil of your heart, which is trust. And in so doing, finally, provide the conditions in which the seed of faith can sprout. And finally, faith sprouts. A seedling, but one of pure power, the power of Christ Himself, which therefore has been put down for millennia, for that is a power that shapes worlds. But let us talk first of trust. For what is trust, and how does one enlarge it? What is its opposite, and how do you recognize it and fight against it? What are the steps one will likely follow? Let's begin. To trust is to sit in silence. It is not to deny pain, nor is it to believe you have received a sought-after blessing before He has decided to give it. God does not desire false faith or false trust. To trust is to ask God in sincerity with a heart filled with self-reflection and understanding, and to sit still and know He is God. Let us imagine what trust would be if it were a human being. Trust would be a small child, and that child has been moved out of their parents' room and into their own room in preparation for becoming a more confident person. When that child has a nightmare and wakes in the room crying, the parents are aware. In fact, the parents are aware before the child awakes and starts to cry because they have a direct link to that child through a baby monitor, and thus they can watch out over their child at all times. They hear the child groaning with fear as the nightmare takes place. But they do not wake the child. They let the child awake and find himself in a dark room. But they do not immediately pick the child up and comfort them. To do so would be training the child to give into fear as a means to fix their fears, which cannot work and only takes away one's trust. No, instead the child cries in the darkness for his parents. He is in darkness and can't see what is going on. He reaches out his hands and calls out, "Abba, Father, I need you." And then, waiting, darkness, and hopefully a chance to grow. But the father was already in the dark room with the child the whole time. He was there before the child was even awake enough to his situation to seek help. And when the child calms down and exerted some small degree of trust, the father picks up the child and comforts him. This is trust. It is a small space given for you to decide which type of pain you will choose. The one that will increase your misery forever, or the one that calls out for help because you have self-reflected and realize you don't have all the answers. And you want help, and you are willing to try. And that is all Christianity is, the continuous daily effort to try, not to succeed. You are not the victor alone. Christ is the victor alone. Christ was the one who came down and succeeded where all others have failed. Christ is the one who showed us true trust in God, when even on the cross, after being tortured to the point of death multiple times in one 24-hour period, and he called out for Abba, Father. At that point, for Christ to be the example in all things, all had to be darkness. And so God withdrew from his most beloved thing in all creation. He withdrew from his Son that never ceased following his word from the day he was born, who taught love at the expense of his own body. God withdrew, and now his only begotten Son, full of grace and truth, acted as the small child in the dark room calling out for his dad and trusting that at some point Dad would make everything okay. And he did. His dad let him be the example for all of us kids. And when that example was finished, he smashed death itself with all the rage of a parent who just saw their child tortured to death. He destroyed the captivity of hell. Like a raging lion, he went to the devil's own stronghold and proclaimed victory over all creation. He is our God. He is Jesus Christ, Almighty. And he's standing next to you in a dark room, waiting for you to trust him so he can pick you up and make it all better. Trust Jesus. He is real, and he is coming again soon.